there's a subconscious set of like marketing touch points that you're hitting upon there, because you're basically saying, come on over, I'll cook for you, which, like, I don't know, maybe doesn't work on a first date, but like, I think
It's worked for me.
See?
Well then, okay, I stand corrected. This is a way that it could work on a first date.
This is the way that it could work. You can have it. I mean, like, we were talking about new ideas for next year. What about we start doing an entire set of first date books where it's like all of these cool first date, like a whole section, just prepping for cuffing season. Again, we know it's coming. Cuffing season in 26 is going to be here just like cuffing season in 25. And so we prepare for it. So we have like an entire set of first date books where it's like, here's all the fun ways to reimagine first dates, because there's a whole bunch of people between now and then who will be getting divorced and going back into the market, and they're not going to know what to do anymore. And so this is like, there's just so many different ideas you can pull together for marketing around that specific topic. Again, that will just repeat and repeat and repeat year after year.
Hi, I'm Joe Beal, the founder and CEO of Microcosm Publishing. I'm also the author of A People's Guide to Publishing, which distills what I've learned from selling millions of books over the past 28 years.
I'm Elly Blue, the Vice President of Microcosm. We started this podcast to share what we've learned with newer publishers, so you can learn from our mistakes. Or maybe you just want to learn about the publishing industry.
This week, we bring a very special guest from outside of the world of publishing, but inside the world of great ideas. Lindsay Mckee, professor of marketing, and many other, you're like an expert in digital marketing, you're an expert in, well, most everything that involves connecting content to an audience.
So I was getting a PhD, and one day I had never experienced this before, but I was so incredibly angry that I punched a wall at school. The face, I literally with my hand punched the wall like a person who's violent. And I was like, this is crazy. And it was one of those things where I was like, I need to leave this place. I figured I was going to continue and actually finish the PhD, but I did not end up doing that. I just was like, I need to get out of this place. This is like, whatever is happening here is not good for my mental health. And so I moved to Cleveland in order to get away from the place where I was. And it was only 3 hours away. It was closer to home. And while I was in Cleveland, I said, I need to be productive. I was on fellowship, so I didn't need to have a job in order to live. So I joined the AmeriCorps Vista program and started working in communications for nonprofits. And that is how I got into the whole space of rapidly learning how to do marketing and communications and digital marketing and all those things. And at the time I was considered a young person. And so people were handing me all of their internet problems. And I was like, oh, I can solve that. That's easy. And so I was doing the internet solving and helping people with developing LinkedIn profiles and things like that in the very early ages of LinkedIn and all that. And so it just became a thing that I was like, I love this. And my background was political science and education. And so oddly enough, as much as it might seem like marketing and political science have nothing to do with each other, they are extremely similar. There's a lot of commonalities, a ton of overlap. And so it really wasn't that big a leap to go from political science to marketing. So
yeah, even more of a timely topic.
Yes.
Well, have you worked at all in the world of books or publishing?
Other than reading, which I know you're a fan of reading.
I am a huge fan of reading. And I will say no in the real sense, but also yes in the sense that I've had a few clients who've written books and I've helped them with promoting the books, or because I'm a horrible person who can't say no, I've actually helped people write books. Yes, I actually helped someone write a cookbook and help them get it out into the world, because I can't if someone's like, this is a passion. And I'm like, let me help you get your passion out into the world. And so that's something that I've done a few times. So no is the formal answer. And then yes is the informal answer.
I would count that as real for sure. But what we wanted to know, I want to know more about this professional experience helping people with books, but also we would love to know what kind of books do you read? Are you drawn to, and how do you find them? How are they marketed to you? What lessons did you learn?
That's a really good question. So I thought that I was only a self-help section reader for the longest time. And I was the kind of person who would go to either a library or a bookstore just for entertainment. So I would just go there to roam around and see what was new. My favorite way in the pre-digital age is to look and see what the librarians and the bookstore attendants were recommending, because for the most part, like whatever they're recommending, I wasn't always like bestseller human. That's not my thing. It's like, what do people actually read? And so I would pick my books based on that. I also pick based on need. So what do I need to know right now? Because I'm a learner. And so I'm like, what do I need to know? Or what am I interested in? I just learned this thing. It's just so silly, but I was watching YouTube and this girl was talking about developing a personal curriculum. And I was like, oh, I've been doing that for years. I'm like, I've just been doing that naturally. Like, I'm interested in this topic and I'll just read like 10 books about that topic and just binge knowledge on that. And that's what I would be doing. And so in the previous world, I still do it, but I would go into the stores and actually look. And then now I do a similar thing again on topics. But what got me into reading fiction was Stargate SG-1, like literally the show. Someone gave me their box set of DVDs and I watched it and was like, I love this. I love sci-fi and fantasy. And so then I started like looking for recommendations from people about what sci-fi and fantasy I should be reading. And then now I read an entire like world of sci-fi and fantasy books on top of all the still reading for knowledge that I do. So I read a lot. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's a fascinating, like, backwards track into marketing, because you're right. And this is how, so most of our audience is publishers, though we do get a lot of people that kind of come into it because they realize that, like, all knowledge, ports to wherever they're going, or they're just, like, obsessed with learning things, like myself. Similarly, I am.
Yeah.
And so what we have found is that, honestly, the thing that publishers miss the most is just baking into the book's development, like what it is and who it's for and what they're getting out of it and why they care.
Yeah.
And it seems like, I don't know if that's why we hit upon this, or we hit upon this at the right time or through its effectiveness, but like most publishers still don't approach it that way. But is that, like, would that fold into a general best practice outside of publishing?
It is. I think that one of the things, and to, talk about the work that I've helped other people who are publishing things. And one of my favorite things to remind everyone in marketing is a basic principle, but it's really easy to get away from, is that everything is about your customer. Like, literally, it does not matter why you did it. So often we're writing a book for a reason, or we have a purpose behind this thing. It doesn't matter. What matters is what your reader or your consumer cares about, your customer. And so you might have written it because you were frustrated about something specific, and then you think, I need to market based on that frustration. But I also like to remind people that we tend to not be our customer. So if you're the person who's going to write a book about a topic, you're very likely not the customer, because as soon as you learned enough and like absorbed enough information to be able to write a book about it, you solve the problem and you're no longer the person who has the problem. And so the thing that the customer wants is many, many, many steps before, and you've probably forgotten about it. Like, you've forgotten all about what your original problem was. This is the whole, like, parents who have teenagers and they're like, I don't understand what's wrong with this child. And I'm like, do you not remember what it was like to be 13? Like, your brain is on fire. Like, do you not remember? And so, like, but they don't remember what it's like because they're 47. And so they're like, have no idea what 13 feels like anymore. And that's exactly what it's like when you're writing. Like, you get into this process, you're in this like, you are solving the thing so hard that you no longer remember what it was like to feel the pain that other people who haven't solved it yet are feeling, or the desire. When I say pain, I don't mean literal pain. I mean, it could be desire or aspiration or whatever. But once you've solved it, it's really easy to step away from that mindset. And we have to keep it central, because otherwise, what are we doing? We can't market to people if we're not identifying what their actual concerns are, what their desires are, and it's sometimes and very often not the same as yours.
So how do you find that
I think it's research, honestly. And that's like, it's a silly thing to say, but like, you have to talk to people. Like talking to your
People?
That's not why we
magic.
became writers.
You become a publisher in order to talk to humans. No, you have to talk to people. Like you have to talk to the consumer. And it's also useful to follow trends. So I'm an internet human. As much as Joe and I, have met and talked in real life, my preferred method of communication is this. Like I can like deal in the internet. But so I'm an internet human. As an internet human, I also believe that your audience can tell you in the internet what their problem is. Like YouTube is a really great research search tool for like finding out what people's problems are. And like, because people in the internet will tell you what their problem is. Like they will rant and rave about their problems. And so sometimes the answers are in the comment section of someone else's video. Sometimes the answers are in the video itself that someone is making about the biggest problem that they had with this thing. We just have to like listen to them when they're telling us, or they're in the reviews of someone else's poor product. There's all sorts of information. When I say listen to your customer, I don't necessarily mean you have to go and find them and talk to them in person. It is they're telling you, they're just telling you all over the internet, and you have to go and find that information and really listen to it.
And is there ways, I mean, is there a way just to look up like, on our own website, which is great, have your own website, you can look at like the top 10 things that people search for that led them there. But
Yes.
Is there a way, and in the book, A People's Guide to Publishing, I wrote about how to like reverse engineer like what has the highest demand categories are on Amazon.
Mhm.
Are there ways, as well as like the most underfulfilled, which I feel like is another key point of marketing.
Yeah.
But are there ways to do that on the internet at large, on YouTube, on Google, etc.?
Yeah, so it's a keyword search situation, but the challenge is most people's keyword searches are too. Remember when we talked about the idea of kind of not being in the same spot as your customer? Often we're not in the same spot as them, so we're not really searching what they're searching. So what I encourage people to do is to start with Google and then look at what people also searched for. So type in whatever you think the keyword is, and then look at all the things Google tells you people also search for. And those are the things that you want to really focus on, because often that's the like questions that people are really asking are sitting down there versus what you think they're asking. And the other thing you can do, that these are completely free things you can do, go to Google Trends, and this is not an advertisement for Google, this stuff is free. So go to Google Trends and you can like put in the people also search for terms and see and when you scroll all the way to the bottom of trends, it'll give you a whole other set of things that people are searching for and things that are trending based on those topics. And it kind of just helps you branch out your like mental model of what people are looking for. And then those become your real keyword searches. And then you go back to Amazon, and then you go back to all of the like YouTube, and you search those terms and you see what people are saying about in those terms. It's what people are talking about, what they're creating videos about, what their frustrations are in those areas. Because if you start at the term that's in your head, often you're wrong. It's just the wrong term. It's not what really people care about. So that's the problem. You have to eventually get to the part where like, no, people don't care about this thing that I think they care about. They care about something else, and I have to find that thing and then search it.
So we're covering a lot of different sides of marketing here, but a pressing question on my mind all the time is like, once you have the book and you've targeted to specifically answer readers' questions and solve their problems, how do you reach them anymore? Like, this has changed so much in the last 10 years. How the heck do you let people know that you have a book?
It is so, you're right. It completely changes, and it can change. It changes because the platforms where people are change. And so I would say the biggest thing that we have to do again is remember that everything is not about you. So when people say, oh, I want to reach, and then let's say I want to reach 47-year-old, women with teenage children. That's the ideal target for my book. Well, I'm going to apologize to whoever that is and say, you have to go to Facebook. If you don't go, and there are people who are like, but I'm not on Facebook. I don't care. It's where your customer is. And so if you're not there, if you're not in the groups, and I know people, well, Facebook groups are dead. And I'm like, that is Completely not true. That is not true at all. It's just maybe dead for you. Maybe you don't do it. It's not dead. There are plenty of people who are like actively engaged, and those people are your audience. And if those people are there, then that's where you have to go. So the challenge is like knowing who that group of people is and then identifying where they are and then putting what they want in that spot. So again, if you're going to be on Facebook, then the content has to be Facebook friendly. It can't just be your TikToks that you put on Facebook. You have to make sure your content is friendly to the audience and also friendly to the platform, because if it's not doing both, you're going to miss the mark and then be frustrated because people are not paying attention to you. And you know, the people are there, they want to pay attention. People are greedy for new content. So this is not like, you know, oh, I can't find an audience. No, you're just missing yours. Like you're in the wrong spot, or you're putting out the wrong content for them on that platform. So it might feel like trial and error, but the reality is everything is trial and error. So if you're only doing one thing, then you are either going to be extremely lucky or you're going to be normal. Extremely lucky and it works, or you're going to be normal and it doesn't, and you have to do more things. Like you have to just do more things.
There's always more things.
There's always more. I apologize in advance. There's always more things.
I mean, and I feel like the best part of a profession like this is that you learn new things every day, and it's like really fun and rewarding.
Yeah.
And, you know, and it's really cool. Whereas like, you know, 30 years ago, it was like I was the target demo of everything we were doing. So it was really easy because I was like, I know where I hang out.
Yeah.
I know how to talk to people.
Yeah.
I know what people like. And then, you know, as we like move into adjacent categories.
We built this software from scratch to solve our own problems starting in 2001.
It's not only the reason for our survival, but the reason we've been a Publishers Weekly fastest growing publisher 3 years in a row.
Now we want to share it with you.
Join Working Lit and get back the agency to understand your publishing business, market and sell your books, and painlessly pay royalties.
Working Lit. Doing the math for publishers.
Visit workinglit.com to give it a try for free.
We're going to do a little bit of a speed round.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're fast tracking a book on matcha.
Okay.
And because, you know, we see all the jibber jabber about matcha and how people are excited. And our previous guest told us that the biggest, most important thing is authenticity when you're. And so the good news is that by coincidence, both Elly and I drink matcha drinks. So we are. I don't know that I would buy. Well,
some part of you is made of matcha.
And so I don't know. I would like read a book about matcha, and I would like absolutely, and like I feel like the author that's writing it is going to like turn out a fascinating book about matcha because he's just like really good at finding everything that's interesting about anything.
Yeah.
But I don't know that I would be. I'm not the kind of customer that would like look up a book on matcha.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
Or probably pick one up if you saw it in the coffee shop.
I would actually
okay.
if it was in the coffee shop.
I guess you'd be like, they have a book in the coffee shop. You pick up
Yes, there's that.
and we do a lot. Like we have a lot of customers that are cafes, and you know, like so we're really attuned, and so that you know, it's what you might call low hanging fruit.
That's a really great one. I love giving like specific examples. It's great that we can talk about something tangible. So when we're talking about the idea of matcha. This is great because there are people who are matcha drinking enthusiasts, and then there are people who will read. And those people are a Venn diagram. They are not they're not just fully the same. There's some overlap, but it's not fully the same. But then there's a group in there that's on the other side of that Venn diagram who are like not matcha enthusiasts, but they're tea enthusiasts who just like new things. And so this is where I think, yes, it's me. I'm a tea person and I like new things. And so that's how I came to matcha. And so as an enthusiast about this topic, then a book about it is something that might interest me because I'm also a reader. And so between those two things, then what I would say your marketing edge might be is whatever the contents of the book are, how do we make sure that the people who are combo tea lovers, matcha lovers, readers, that combo see all of the things that this book can offer to them for entertainment. Because if we do it as this is entertainment, no matter what, it's just entertainment. so like, how can these people be entertained by the contents of this book? And as a person who has an entire bookshelf, an entire bookcase, I'd say shelf, but it's really a whole case of just cookbooks of all types, like various cultures, various regions. I have like a whole section that's just different regions of Italy. So, yes, I told you I mentioned the part where I would just go to the bookstore for entertainment. I was buying books when I was there, and so I have lots of books about things like, again, different regions of Italy where you can find. So the idea there, though, is how can I get those people's attention? Very fortunately, those people are everywhere. So I don't think you need to find a specific spot for them. But when I say customize your content to a different for each platform, let's say I'm going to give you a silly example because Book Talk is getting a lot of attention right now. And so a ton of attention right now. So maybe on TikTok, you would do a like Matcha Lover's Guide to Book Talk or something like that, where it is a combo overlap of the topics. You're on TikTok just about because you love books. And here we're going to talk about the favorite books that we drink matcha to. And then we're going to include this book, right? So this book is on the list. So now we're getting some piece of content for these people over here. On YouTube is a lot of DIYing, people who like to do things for themselves. So any part of this book that teaches people how to do something related to matcha could have its entire own series of videos, where it's like, here are all the things that you can use this book to do in your own life. Like you can set up a tea ritual. You can do like all the different things, right? These are the things you can buy. And then also on Instagram, speaking of things you can buy, that's a great platform because lots of Instagram humans are here to shop. And so like, so now you're going to take all the things about that book that encourage people to buy stuff and highlight all of those things in different reels about how you can shop for this and that, and how this book will help everything you bought not be wasted because you're going to be able to use it. See, I'm going to teach you something and this book is going to help you get there. And like, so we're just, each platform is just kind of tailored to what the people on that platform care about. But it's all still matcha, it's all still tea, it's all still keeners, like people who are super interested in this topic, but we're hitting them on their platform about the thing they care about and like focusing on the thing they care about based on that platform. Does that make sense?
I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't realize that about YouTube. That's very DIY oriented. I tend to get more music and political content.
Yeah, I do that too. I mean, I think that's
video games. I guess that's DIY.
Your YouTube algorithm is very specific then.
I guess it is.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you for helping us develop our marketing plan for our fall 2026 matcha book. The reason it came up, one of the reasons it came up is our sales director was looking at our list of proposed titles and she was like, where are the cozy titles for fall? And we were like, cozy titles for fall.
And we did a book, was that this year or last year? Who can even remember anymore? And I mean, it's literally called Your Cozy Life, and it's like a content bind up of like, it's basically the entire works of one author. And but like cozy summarizes her into the modern domain.
Yeah.
And it's a great example of like, we repackaged, it's the same books, but all in one bind up, and and it like put it in front of a whole new audience.
Yeah.
We didn't even need
to do. It's so genius. And because like when we think about which, especially this time of year or any time of year, really, there's always these moments that kind of match up with the time of the year. So this is the cozy time of year, but it's also it's cuffing season is coming. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this concept. So, so this is not, because cozy is a solo activity and cuffing is not. And so you can have your two kind of paralleling together, where if you have content about dating and romance and things like that, then you would put that out during cuffing season and put it on platforms like Threads, where there are lots of brown people who use the term cuffing season. And there's lots of content about how to prep for cuffing season. Like, it's coming. Let's all get in the right mindset. Like all of those things are happening right now. So it like that concept can be applied to every season as we have remonikered them, because of course we like constantly remonikering every season. And so like every time, it's not about having new content for that season. It's about taking the content that you already have and like making it fit with what people are doing currently. Yeah.
So our How to Cuddle book, we should wait for it to come out until it's more.
Yes.
I just made that up. We don't have a book like that. But
No, that's a great idea for a book though.
It would be very popular among a certain set, like people that like really want to know, and then also people that are like, that sounds nice.
Yes. The cuddle puddle humans. Yes. I got
Yeah, so yeah, that's kind of, I mean, and it's the most fun part of the job is that you're like constantly in the role of being like, you know, because I don't like come to it from a position of desperation. I come to it more from a like, what is enticing to fulfill a need? Like, what would make somebody like have a reason to be like excited about life?
Yes.
You know?
And or what is something that people are already really getting excited about that we could bring a book into? And because there's so many things that people are like, their excitement is rising. And matcha's weird because it's one of those things where we do this with it, where it like matcha's been around in my like domain for probably 15 years. I've like known about it for a long time, but it's just it keeps doing this where it'll peak and I'm like, okay, I'm drinking matcha every day. This is like my thing now. And then it'll ebb and I go back to drinking chai every day. Like it's one of those things. It just ebbs and flows. But at the same time, when you introduce the book at the right time, every time, how many like bookshelf? I could have an entire bookshelf of books that are just kind of aiming at my different random tea obsessions at different times, even though they're all always there. None of the obsessions really technically go away. They just kind of ebb and flow. Yeah.
Well, I would love to get specific again and ask you, and it's fine if you don't have an example that jumpstart to mind, but I think you will. Is there like a recent product, say maybe a book, but maybe not a book, where you feel like the marketing like was really like either a brilliantly taken opportunity or a missed opportunity that we could learn from in our book publishing?
That's more polite than I think we've ever been in this podcast.
That's really nice. And before you even finished the question, I had an answer. So I said I'm an avid reader, and one of the things I like to do is read audiobooks. So obviously I read in-person physical books as well, but I love audiobooks because I can consume them while I'm cooking. And as we know, I have an entire bookshelf full of cookbooks. So I love to cook. I cook all the time. So this gets me to do two things I love at the same time. What I don't like to read the self-helpy type books when I cook. I love to read the sci-fi type books when I cook. And so I really got into I won't say the name of the author, but I got into this one specific author and I started just reading basically everything this person had to offer. And he tends to write books in collaboration. So I read one set of books that he had in collaboration with one guy. And then I started reading another set of books thinking it was going to have the same like tenor and tone as the previous set. And it didn't. And I was like, oh, but the fact that they didn't market it well, that like descriptions and everything, if it had been described differently, I would have totally been into it. Now, I bring this up because the way this book is, it was written as if it was a Netflix show. Yes. So your face is there is exact. If you understand what I mean by it was written like a Netflix show, the chapters of the book read literally like episodes of a TV show. And it was almost painful because I didn't go into it knowing that was going to happen. And so I was like, if I had known this was going to feel like a TV show when I was reading it, I would have went into it with a different mindset. I could have read it at a different time, because then you can't really stop whenever you want, because you're like, I kind of feel like I'm in the middle of an episode. Do I need to finish this chapter? Like, no, books shouldn't feel like that. But it was like, they can if you tell me in advance is what's going to happen. And so it was one of those moments where I'm like, this was just marketed poorly. It could have totally been marketed as that experience. Like, if you know what the experience is that you've written, then you need to market people that experience. This is an episodic book. Every chapter is going to be its own independent thing. There is a through line. You will get somewhere in the end, but at the end of this book, you're really going to have to read the next book anyway. And it was like, it's a series inside of a series inside of a series, right? Like, tell me it's nesting dolls. Tell me it's going to like create the experience for me and let me know in advance so that I can like enjoy instead of being taken aback by it being completely, especially because it was completely different from the other set of books that I had just finished reading. And so it's one of those things where, again, the same author, different set of books, completely different experience. And the marketing, I think, as far as I've been able to see from just looking at this series, it isn't doing nearly as well as the previous series because it's not explaining the experience to people. And so sometimes we have to do a better job of explaining what is the experience that someone is supposed to be having so that they know what they're getting themselves into, especially for entertainment consumption. If I am consuming this for entertainment, tell me what the experience is in both a good way or a bad way. Like, even if you think I might shy away from it, that's fine. It's better for me to not read it than it is for me to read it and hate it. Like, don't do that.
You're saying don't finish the reader.
With honesty,
Novel concept.
I can immediately see two things that are going on there. Whereas for most publishers, they're really like gunning for the Netflix deal. So if they can write the book to be that format, they're like 90% chance we might sell it, and if we don't sell it to Netflix, we'll sell it to somebody else.
Yeah, we'll sell it to Amazon. We'll sell it to, and I'm like, look, you're not selling it to me, the reader. And the reality is, if you want to sell it to Netflix or if you want to sell it to Amazon, the best way to do it is to get a whole bunch of me to tell everybody how great this thing is.
Yeah. And that's just not how the industry thinks or operates. Like, and I mean, the absolute even worse detail is the one way the publishers know how to market is on the historical record of the author's success. So just rather than saying like, so the last thing they would want to do is say this book is different from those other books. They would want to be like, it's the new book from so-and-so. And we've had it like work backwards as well. Like Elly wrote a best-selling book that's like a sociology of bicycle economics, and so it did really well. And we did.
You said the sociology of bicycle economics. Those were the words you used. Okay, I'm just making sure.
Those aren't the words I used, but
that. And and it was like on page 1 of like our then distributor's catalog, and like it did, it was just like people couldn't get enough. But then Elly's next book was a humor book, so it was not for the same audience.
No.
And this is how the industry thinks. So we weren't even saying like buy it on the track record. They were just looking up sales history and then being like, oh, the author's last book did really well, like we should get a ton of this one. So like we oversold and over returned, and then we were like, oh, that's what was happening.
That's what it was. And it's, of course, you want to lean on the previous success. That is a true indicator of something. It's just not an indicator of everything. And so it's a big challenge because you want to make sure that you're giving people enough information for them to understand, yes, this is going to be a great book, but it is not going to be the same type of great book that you had from the author previously.
Our industry is run by billionaires and conglomerates.
At Microcosm, we wanted the freedom to independently sell our books, easily pay royalties, manage our inventory, and understand our business all in one place.
That's why we've been using our own software since 2001.
Now, we want to share it with you.
Working Lit is the only business success software that is created and owned 100% by publishers for publishers.
Join Working Lit and get the agency you need to help your business grow.
Visit workinglit.com to try it for free.
And I think because the market is so choked with like new product offerings, product development constantly, that people are like, they can't seriously invest. Well, like the industry, let alone you, the consumer, cannot process every book that's coming out this week. It's impossible.
It's impossible.
And so
we have to have shortcuts. We have to have like shorthand, I should say.
So what are your shorthands and shortcuts to figuring out which cookbooks land on that shelf?
That is a really good question. Well, at that point, if we're having to use shorthand, because I believe the customer is the most important part, then I would say we should shorthand default to customer preferences. So if we're gonna have to use shorthand, which we absolutely should be doing, then I would say we should be determining what's going on the shelf based on not what previous successes the authors had, but what previous engagements with the author the customer has like mentioned. Like if the customer is having great mentions of a specific type of engagement, even if it's not that author, if it's another book, another author with a similar engagement or a similar type of style, that's what we should be picking up, not the thing that is just based off of that previous author's success. It's very challenging, but that's the thing that I think would help overall turn trajectory forward towards the customer, instead of it being there's plenty of industries like this where we lag behind the customer's preference, and then occasionally we just have to eat our lunch, like take a bath, because we're lagging behind what the customer cares about. I tend to work with a lot of food businesses, and that's huge in food. It is often where people are like way behind what the customer preferences are in food, and it becomes a big challenge, because if you're too slow on catching up with customer preferences with food, it's extremely expensive. Like you can end up with tons of wasted product. It's very expensive. So instead of doing that, you kind of have to slow down and turn your entire attention away from product development based on supply, like based on what's available. And you have to turn towards product development based on what the customer is consuming and what's trending in the marketplace. Because if you can turn in that direction, you'll waste less and you'll have better sales on the other side of it. And so, yeah, and it is very challenging to do, but I think that's the true recommendation.
I love that. Can you give us like an example of how that might play out, say, in a cookbook?
On your shelf.
Yeah, like, oh yeah.
Yeah, this is why you're here.
So cookbooks are a good one, because again, they can do a million things. So let's talk about cozy. Let's go into cozy or cuffing season, because both of those are very cookbook friendly moments. So we are not, oh Lord Jesus, I'm about to go. Just be prepared. So
all right.
I'm like, my brain was like, oh, there's 800 directions you can go in this, because we're not just going into cozy and cuffing season. We're also in the consumer price index came out yesterday, and food prices are going through the roof right now. And so we are having a moment where everyone is trying to cut back on expenses because food prices are increasing. Restaurants are increasing food pricing. Dating is hard. So why not create or have cookbooks that are marketed specifically towards date night ideas for cuffing season? That like becomes a whole thing now, where it's like, impress your new girl with all of these different things that you can cook that are super affordable, price friendly, but impressive meals. And that's like 4 different books, right? You could get people to buy a whole bunch of different things based on just that concept alone. You could also have the ones for the ladies that are like, here's all the like cool, fun, exciting things that you could make to get him into to what is it, the old fashioned like beat his stomach thing that people used to do, like that whole mindset, but also not breaking the bank, because we're trying to be gender friendly and occasionally splitting costs of meals and all that. So I'll make food for you, you'll make food for me, and we can cuff food together. We can Netflix and chill without having to order out. There's like a whole set of things we could do there. And then there's on the cozy side, bake, because cozy and baking go hand in hand, but not just cozy and baking, cozy and coffee, cozy and tea, cozy and all of the different other warm beverages that we can have in there. And then also for all of the Netflix and chilling, we got cocktail books that we could include. We have there's all of these different things. That's a whole set of books now that we can market in tandem towards the exact same people. So at that point, we're doing the thing that I keep saying we need to do, which is focus on the customer. Take the content and focus it on them, because they're going to have fun with this. And then the marketing can also be really fun, because you can play around. There's all of the different platforms that you can start tailoring it a little bit here and a little bit there for what the people prefer on those platforms. But you're taking the concept that we know is coming. It's not here yet, but it's coming. It's still hot outside, but it's not going to be for very long. And as soon as it starts changing, people will start moving in that direction. How do we prepare our marketing to be ready when they are ready for this thing that we all know is coming.
Right. I love that. And I love it because it's pragmatic. And then those could be like with like slight marketing tweaks, those could be evergreen books because people are going to keep on dating.
Yes, people are going to keep on dating. We
Life's
gonna keep on falling. We gonna keep on doing all the stuff that we do. None of these fall trends. I just watched. I was on Instagram and I saw the same like fall is coming. The slight crisp in the air, and then the person like their sleeves start growing and their hair like they put on their Han Solo outfit. Like the whole thing. Like that is every year. How long have we been making fun of people going into Han Solo season where the boots come out and like this is for a decade? It's not going anywhere. And so those types of trends just recycle. We joke about it, but like, are we in a skinny jeans moment or a wide leg jeans moment? I don't know. Wait a couple minutes and it'll be different. But we know it's going to change and we know what the predictability of it is. So if we know, then we can plan in advance. And those types of things, even though they look spontaneous and cool, are super evergreen.
It seems like look for what people need and problems they have and find patterns of how you can iterate on solving them.
That's pretty much it. And that is like, if we can do better at pattern recognition, and then it will make it a lot easier for us to do marketing, because marketing feels hard when I'm like, create all of these different pieces of content across every platform. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, yeah, sure. But then like repeat it next year. Like you don't have to do it all again. Once you do really good stuff once, then you can make minor tweaks year after year. And then like there'll be some big uproar, some new platform, and then you can make a whole bunch of new stuff. But that's like 3 years from now. You got time. And so you don't have to do everything brand new every single year. But if you get a really good rotation going, your customer isn't going to notice. As much as we like to think that they look at, see everything, notice everything, they don't. They don't. They simply don't. And so, and there's so many, there's so many books. No one is like, oh, that book came out in 2020. I don't want to read a book from 5 years ago. I don't know when books came out. Like I don't look at publishing dates when I'm picking up a book on, like I'm picking up an Italian, regional cookbook. I'm not looking at the publishing date to see how recent was this book. No.
Right. I think Destiny's contemporary.
Right.
The saddest book I ever saw, we were at a Remainders show where they're selling books they couldn't sell real cheap. And there was one book in the travel section that was 100 top places to visit in 2020.
Okay, now that one definitely is dated. That's completely dated. There's no way around it.
Why would you do that? Like,
yeah.
You didn't know what was coming. Why would you do that?
Yep, that is sad. That poor book is dead.
This is the biggest problem in publishing is that we have to announce what we're doing next year now. Like,
yeah.
We've already announced next spring. And so now we're finalizing next fall.
Yeah.
And so it's difficult in the sense of, like we know it'll be fall, but we don't know what the economy will be like. We don't know what will be trending.
Yeah.
And so what would you recommend to publishers who are trying, and to some degree, like these are the rules, and these are definitely how like the big accounts buy, where they try to plan displays and, Costco wants to know what books they're going to put on their displays.
Yeah.
But, for most of our existence, we just ignored the rules and just published what we were going to publish. And then we were like, these are shipping now if you want them. And for most reasonable independent retailers, like they don't care about getting ample notice. They're just like, oh, you have that? Yeah, that looks good.
Yeah.
But so what would you recommend other than just breaking the rules like we do to solve that problem?
I think breaking the rules is always useful, especially because, we've talked about the concept of gut when it comes to like understanding. The reason why I say gut works for you guys and breaking the rules kind of works is because you all do something that other publishers don't, which is that you focus on your audience. And that is not as common, again, as we would like to think. And so, I might be harping on focusing on your audience, but one of the first things I thought when I met Joe was, this man knows his audience. Like he so well that you transformed your, the book, the catalog, transform the catalog into a completely different product. Like when you understand, like intuitively understand your audience, then you can go on gut on what they might want or what they might need or what you can, because your gut is really like honed in on them. But the challenge with that is, as we've also talked about, we change, the environment changes, and those things can happen in a way that is like, wait, what is it? Very slowly, and then all of a sudden, right? Like it's like, like it's not changing, it's done. Like it's over. My gut's wrong all the time now. There's nothing I can do about it. And so I can't use it anymore. It's not accurate. But if that's the case, if that happens, then I would say maybe it's time to start doing a little gut blending where I'm going gut and science. And the science part to me is going back to my political science mindset. The world is cyclical. It just is. And so if we look at what like other countries, what things have trended literally 10 years ago, start going back in time and looking at previous cycles and then seeing if we can see long-term. Y'all have been in business for quite a while. You can start looking at long-term cycles and seeing what's trending in 5-year cycles. So there are things, like I said, matcha ebbs and flows. So what's that matcha trend? How long does it take to cycle back so that it's popular again? And then you start planning on that for 2027. And you start planning, like you actually start looking at what those political trends are, what the trends are within your industry, because things cycle out hard. If I could just tell everyone the predictability of the cycles of gerrymandering conversations, it's just extremely predictable. Like political violence is extremely predictable. We pretend because for news sake, it's, shocking, but I'm like, it's not. There's numbers, and the numbers don't lie. Like these things happen in cycles, like all of them do. We just have to pay attention to them. And if we know what the cycles look like, especially in your area, then you can start preparing for them and keeping an eye out and start, like, again, planning for the cycles that are coming.
Oh, I like that. Now I want to mine you for some more political science insights. Like, is there a book that can help us right now?
Yeah. Sorry.
Is that the book answer?
No, that's not it. It does not exist.
Oh, all right. It might be the How to Cuddle one, honestly.
Yes, that's the book. Like
How to Cuddle Across Party Lines.
Like go for long walks, touch grass. Like that's yeah.
No.
Get a dog. I think that we need lots of fluff and love. Like that's all we got right now, because we got to write it out. This is also a cycle. It will change. Things will change again.
On that note, I love that. We should probably let you go back to mobiling, but first of all, I want to make sure that our listeners know, like, is there anywhere that they can find you? Like, if they want your advice about something,
Services.
Or anything.
Yeah. So
you do a lot of programming.
I do a ton of programming, and I teach classes in the internet on a regular basis, again, because this is my happy place. So I would say the best place to find me is probably at Professor Lindsay on Instagram, because as much as I talk about TikTok, I am an Instagram and YouTube human. So like Professor Lindsay on Instagram, and then I am hopefully going to be getting into YouTube myself this year. And when I say hopefully, I mean, I'm going to ask Joe to like beat me over the head every now and then with an email that's like, I still haven't seen that YouTube video you were promising me, because I love YouTube and I'd love to be like actively participating again, because I've done it in the past, and putting out content. So yeah.
Right. That's a lot of it is, yeah. I mean, and you really
for
stress like
people who are like, for real, like that's where, honestly, that's where I am most of the time.
right. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, and I think for a lot of people it's getting comfortable, but I think the reality is that like you don't know, like nobody knows how much they know about their areas of expertise, or like parts of that knowledge are useful, whereas like you really do know both of those things. Like,
I appreciate you thinking that.
You know what other people don't know, and you know what you do know.
That's true. I do know what other people don't know. That's a good one.
Yeah. And so on that note, anything else you want to send as a takeaway?
I just love this conversation. You guys are awesome. I would be happy to come back anytime and chat with you.
Awesome.
Okay.
We're going to take you up on that.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And this.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. This was
No
a lot of
problem.
fun.
Thanks for joining us once again.
Please send your questions to podcast@microcosmpublishing.com so we can answer them on future episodes.
And please give us 5 stars on iTunes and everywhere else that podcasts are reviewed.
You can find us on the internet at microcosm.pub,
On Twitter at Microcosm,
on Facebook at Microcosm Publishing,
on Instagram at Microcosm_pub.
and here in Portland, Oregon on North Williams Avenue.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful week.